It's time for KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, and we're telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. KC Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This KC Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, www.kauffman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. Since 1979, the Coterie Theatre has been providing theater for audiences of all ages with a focus on youth. It's been a place showcasing both classics and contemporary works, original works, and world premieres, always with an educational component. Equity, diversity, and inclusion plays a pivotal role in the works and the things that the Coterie does. The Coterie has grown by leaps and bounds since then, providing more than 13,000 performances of 285 productions, entertaining and educating more than 2.2 million people right here. There's always exciting things happening at the Coterie, and here to share all the latest is the new producing artistic director, Khalia Davis, who joined the theater earlier this year. Welcome, Khalia. We're so excited to have you. It's been a busy few months for you as things have gotten rolling.
Yes, it has. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're going to dive into all things Coterie, but I wanted to share with our audience a little of your background. You are all over and have done all kinds of things. So give us a little Khalia bio, I guess, a little
Sure.
more than the playbill.
That's right. So, hey, everyone out there. So, I am originally from the Bay Area in California, and I'm a California girl at heart. This is actually my first time living not on a coast because I've always worked professionally as an artist. My mom says that I was the one at 6 years old who told her that I wanted to be an actor because I was watching a rerun episode of The Cosby Show and I saw Rudy Huxtable. And I was like, I want to do what she does. And it was maybe also one of the first times where I realized the importance of visibility and representation. Because at
Mm.
6 years old, I'm seeing this beautiful, dark skinned little girl being loved on by these incredible actors and getting to do what she loves to do. And I wanted to do it too. And so for the rest of my life, honestly, I've never thought that I would do anything else. Artistic leadership didn't even really fall into my lap until I moved to New York City. And I had been directing a couple shows, but one of the former executive directors of TYA USA, which is a member organization for theater for young audiences, Jonathan Schmitz Chapman, he was like, Khalia, you're doing a lot of acting, you're doing a lot of directing, you're doing a lot of teaching. Have you ever thought of leading a show, like a theater? And I was like, I don't know. So as I'm in New York, I'm learning and meeting all of these incredible artists who are equally passionate, not only about the quality of the art that they're making, but also who they're serving as they're doing it. And I've constantly been surrounded by beautiful individuals who love and have a passion for young audiences and young people. So I felt like that was actually the perfect time to be an apprentice and to get a fellowship and do some internships and really learn about producing and casting and the other side of the curtain because I was the actor. I was like, I'm not sure about this. So it's really lovely that this has kind of come full circle where I started as an actor in theater, in TV, really recognizing the importance of my presence there, and then being able to lead a theater that is equally devoted to the importance of who stories we're telling, who's watching those stories, and what more stories we can be putting on our stage that haven't been told yet.
Well, I love that you gave us a little peek behind that curtain. I'm not sure that audiences always have an opportunity to
Mm,
get that peek and to realize the kind of work that takes place to put a production on the stage that they enjoy, learn from, etc.
mhm,
So I guess we'll fast track here, but I want to go back a little bit. When the opportunity became available at Coterie, there had been longtime leadership there that had changed and moved on. How did this come about? I mean, you're saying you're living on the coast, you're living in New York, that's the theater capital of the world, and up pops this thing in Kansas City. So give us a little insight how that came about.
Yes. So many folks also, especially in the nonprofit sector, if you work in nonprofit, you know that there are a number of consulting firms that will do the work basically for the organization to find their next leaders, especially because it's such a big deal to bring in someone who is going to help, refocus and reframe the culture and dynamic of an entire organization. They really put a lot of work in. So the Coterie Theatre hired ALJP Consulting, and they reached out to me. Apparently, the search had been going for a while, and I feel very honored that there were a number of individuals who spoke on my behalf. I truly was not searching. At the time, I was working in Oakland, California for the Oakland Theater Project as their director of education. I was assistant directing at the American Conservatory Theater, ACT
Yeah.
Cisco. So I was doing a lot of work in California, and not necessarily looking for another artistic leadership position of this nature. But they were the ones that reached out and said, there have been a number of people who have come to bat for you, who have brought your name into the room. And again, that idea of like, you never know who's speaking your name in these spaces. And I just felt very honored. And so I was like, well, okay, let's just check it out. I knew the Coterie because of its national presence. I didn't know much about Kansas City or how it affected the Kansas City community or its longevity or legacy at all. I actually knew about it because it had blown up, as you said earlier, into something that was nationally known. And so that was maybe my favorite part of going through all of the interviews because there were a bunch. They really
Wow.
wanted to be thorough. So all of those interviews were also me getting a chance to interview them and go, okay, who are you?
Right.
And how do you affect the community here? Because the thing about theater that I think is so beautiful is that you get these places that are truly homegrown for the people that they're serving right here in Kansas City. And so it was really lovely to learn about them. And their mission, of course, is very well aligned with my mission and what I have been striving for as an artist in this industry. So I felt like all of the pieces were in place that I was like, you know what? I wasn't thinking I would become Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, but why not? Let me just check out this Kansas life, see what's up.
What was the most surprising thing to you once you landed on that tornado? We'll go ahead with the whole Dorothy thing with your little red shoes. Hey, we'll leave that there. But what was the most surprising once you got your feet on the ground here?
Hmm. Mm-hmm. I think what was most surprising was how devoted and dedicated the Kansas City people are to the arts. I want to say that the Bay Area has some of the best theater community and industry. I mean, because it's the Bay Area, there's so many different regions. So you have all of these different theaters that are serving their specific region. And I was so used to that. I was like, this is rich and vibrant and full. Nothing like this can compare unless it's New York. And then I get here to Kansas City. And you all have a little special gold mine out here. I will admit, I was very surprised at how much people patronize the theater and the arts and the dance and the music. There obviously jazz is huge here, barbecue. But what I thought was really exciting was the fact that I was seeing not only citizens of Kansas City just going to the theater, but also other theater people going and supporting different theater and knowing the folks, knowing everyone. It feels like a family out here in a way that is really special.
Well, I'm glad we all played nice. That's good to hear.
Yes.
Of course we did. We're Midwest nice. Well, thanks for sharing the journey of how you got here and what brought you here. Let's talk coterie. So, coming in, had season been determined, or did you get to be part of that process for the season now?
Yeah, so if I can talk about timeline, I got hired at the end of 2023, but that meant that the 23-24 season was already happening here at the Coterie. And not only that, because of how our budget lines up, we have to already start making the decisions on what is going to be presented in the 24-25 season early. So when I landed in the beginning of 2024, I'm landing in the middle of a season. So I have three shows
Mm.
still to finish up, as well as the staff had already determined quite a few shows that they were excited about and they really wanted to make happen. And so I really was there to help facilitate and nurture some of the ideas that some of my staff members have, affirm and validate these world premieres that we can talk about later. That was really exciting. That was already in the works before I was even hired. And then offer a couple ideas. You know, there weren't, every show wasn't already put in the season. So I was able to show off a little bit and be like, you know, I've done this thing. And I know a few shows, and I feel like we can really balance our season with work that is meaningful and beautiful and touching, as well as fun and vibrant and joyful. And so, what does that balance look like, and how do we do that and shape that throughout the entire season?
So as you craft this with your team, and how big is the team at the Coterie?
We're 12. We're now 12. But when I started,
Wow.
we were what, like 10, 9 or 10. So we're still tiny. We're still small.
But you produce like crazy. So I think if anyone follows a little bit of the news flow, we'll go there first. You all had a very, very, very important visitor come to the theater
Yes.
with Judge Sotomayor. Talk a little bit about what all that's about.
So the reason that the Justice Sonia Sotomayor was even here in Kansas City is because she is a prolific children's book author. Her book, Just Ask, award-winning book, is being adapted by France Alou into a children's musical, and the Coterie is commissioning the world premiere of it. And so the reason that she came is actually to witness our work in development. So when we're doing world premieres, we don't necessarily just immediately decide this is the show and we're going to produce it. What we want to do is give a playwright and composer opportunities to test their words, test their music, test the work. And so we made that a container for a week. We brought in some great actors who worked really hard for 5 days straight, and they were able to do a presentation of the work in development. And that led to the justice coming, seeing it being transformed into the show, providing feedback. She's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you would think someone of such high renown and prominence may be too busy with some other very important things for the United States to maybe think about the direction of a show. But because this is her passion project, it is her life, you know, being a diabetic, being somebody who has lived this life,
Mm.
embracing all of the things that make her special and all of the things that make young people special of all abilities. She really cares. And it was wonderful to see how active she was in the development process and actually wanting to know more about how are we building these worlds? What is it going to look like when it actually comes to life on stage? Who are these artists that are working on this project? She was really institutional in ensuring that there was a lot of authenticity and truth that is being
Mhm.
used in the show, just like it is in her book.
You all weren't a little intimidated?
Are you kidding me? Yeah. So here's the fun thing is that Jonathan Thomas, our managing director, he's the one who was really instrumental in ensuring that her, you know, security detail and everything knew exactly where she was going to be, what she was going to be doing, who was going to be there at all times. Jonathan was amazing. And he was so involved that by the end, the security detail, first name basis, asking about his kids, complimenting his awesome sneakers. I mean, we were intimidated, but I got to tell you, herself and her team are some of the sweetest and nicest humans. And it was wonderful, I think, for them to come to a place like Kansas City that has that Midwestern nice, and be treated like it, be treated like family, be treated like they're part of the community here. And not have all of the pomp and circumstance around her prominence. So I think that that was what really helped settle everybody because she was here for a show. And I think that that was really special.
So post that visit,
Mhm.
where is that piece now?
Yes. So we developed in the summer. We're working on rewrites and notes and feedback from audience members who came because we had educators in our audience because they're such an important part and valued part of our audience base. They bring in so many students to come and see our work, and we find that that is so important. And so we wanted to hear from them. So we invited them to come see this work in development as well. And the show is going to premiere January 31st is when it opens, and it runs until February 23rd at our theater and Crown Center. And so people will be able to see this work come to life in a world premiere, which is very exciting.
Wow, we want to keep up with you. We hope you'll give us a little bit of sneak peeks along the way, or as you get closer,
Oh,
we can share with our audience and they
yeah.
can, if they missed the podcast the first time, they can go back or they can, hear again and go, oh, I remember hearing about that. I want to hear all the details. So that's very exciting, but I don't want to eclipse the rest of the season, the rest of the work that you do. Let's talk the rest of this particular season and what it offers and what kind of a lens you put
Mm.
there to, you know, get people to the theater. And what do you always, kind of make sure that you're looking at?
Yes, well, the theme of this season is what makes you special makes you strong. We have shows where the pivotal, crucial characters in every show has something about them that is special or different, but it actually helps with the adventure, with the story, with the other people or creatures around them. And so all of our shows have that line, and we hope that young people who are watching it and older people that are watching it walk away feeling good about themselves too and be like, I have something about me that makes me special, and how can I use that to help benefit the community that I'm in? So we're starting with our first world premiere, Horsepower, Tom Bass's American Story. This one is actually in co-production with the American Royal, who I didn't know about being from California. How incredible their legacy is as well. And they're celebrating 125 years here in Kansas City. And Tom Bass actually helped start their most famous horse shows because he himself was a horse trainer and showman who was world renowned in the turn of the century after being born into slavery, and found his way to creating a business for himself, training horses, showing horses. And we really wanted this to be an opportunity to uplift his story because even though he is part of their museum and part of the American royal history, his story sometimes does get eclipsed as well by all of the other incredible things that happen at the American Royal and here in Kansas City. So we thought this would be a great way to create a creative way of telling his story.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to open our season, which is very exciting. And then we're going to go back to the cemetery. We are going to talk to our favorite author, Poe, Edgar Allan Poe with Electric Poe. We're bringing it back. It's a crowd favorite. It's such a vibe. When I was interviewing, it was the first show that I saw when I came out for my in-person interview. And it was an amazing experience to be there and to feel it. And there was the moon was rising as the sun was setting. The backdrop was beautiful, and he was saying all of these words that he wrote. It was amazing. So we're bringing it back. And then we are also going to go under the sea for the holidays, and we're going to present Finding Nemo TYA. So it's going to be
Ah,
Finding Nemo, the show, but it's going to be with a smaller cast, and we're in partnership with What If Puppets. And they are
mm.
building us some beautiful puppets that we're going to be using throughout the show to really just elevate the story that we're telling. And it's really about this family that is coming together and finding their way to each other. And so we felt like it was a lovely, heartwarming story to have for the holidays. So as people are gathering with their families and make the coterie a holiday tradition, they're going to come and see this show and just snuggle up a little bit with their little ones, which I'm very excited about. And then, as we were talking about, Just Ask is going to open up in the new year. And after Just Ask, we are going to be presenting a show called Cinderella, a Salsa Fairy Tale by Karen Zacharias and Deborah Wicks-LaPuma. And so, yes, let me tell you, this isn't your ordinary Cinderella. Our Cinderella is actually coming from Puerto Rico. She speaks no English. So this show is actually going to be bilingual, and it's going to be an opportunity for
Ah,
us to uplift multiple cultures. And also, we're doing a little bit different where instead of a fairy godmother, the fairy godmother's husband has to step in since he's a fairy godfather in training, and he has to help Cinderella and her friends find their way to each other, which is going to be really fun as well. And of course, the music, salsa, reggaeton, it's going to be a lot of fun for those young people. And then we're going to close out our season for the summer with A Year with Frog and Toad. Again, a staple, a show that's been done before at the Coterie. We're bringing it back because we feel that it is just such a joyful experience. And what better way to finish off a really amazing season than with something that is very iconic? It was on Broadway back in the day. And so that music is fun and uplifting, and everybody loves Frog and Toad. They're the best of friends.
wow. I've got to go find a little kid so I have an excuse to go to the theater.
You don't need an excuse. You come and see a show. It is for everyone.
We're running through time here, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that you've stepped in and you are running, as you mentioned earlier, you're running a nonprofit. It's theatrical, it's the arts, it's all those lovely things, but it's a nonprofit. So, what is kind of the greatest challenge that you face as a nonprofit leader of an arts organization, and how are you tackling it?
Whew. So many things. I think the pandemic was maybe one of the best illuminators of how much we need as an arts industry more substantial financial support that is going to sustain the work that we are doing. So often nonprofit is led by the heart, right? We are mission driven, which means that we will just do it. We, no matter what it takes, we will make sure that the people we're serving get the services that they are deserving
Right.
of and they are owed. But what we're noticing is that it is becoming harder and harder for us, especially in the theater, because we had to shut down for so long and we lost all
Yes.
that revenue. Because funders, rightly so, started to pivot where they wanted to put their money more because of what was happening during the racial reckoning of 2020, during the pandemic, and all of the different issues that have arisen since then in the last few years. So we don't fault that. But what we're noticing is that if we continue to be reliant on those funders who are themselves trying to figure out how to navigate, a fluctuating
Right.
stock market, where do they want to put their funds? It becomes harder for us. So what we're really doing is advocating to the government. We are going straight to them. We have the NEA, which is great, and we want to hold on to it. Oh my gosh, it's so important. But we also want to ensure that there's legislation that is passed that allows us to receive substantial funding that is government led that can almost lead to kind of like an endowment status where we will have the capability to sustain the work that we're doing long term because we know that the value of it is so important. So I would say that probably that is the most crucial thing in the moment. And then of course, just things that we're just noticing, especially as a theater for young audiences, our audiences are constantly changing. The generational
Mm-hmm.
shifting of mindset, culture, what they care about. So we want to stay on top of it. We want to stay in the know of what's going on with young people and make sure that we're putting on our stages and working in our classrooms curriculum programming that speaks to who they are today. And I feel like that is something that is really important for us to keep staying on top of, but can get a little bit hard to do when you have so many other aspects of running the organization. But I think it is important that they are the ones that are driving what we're providing and the programming that we're creating. So I would say, yes, financial stability and also ensuring that we are listening consistently to young people and what they desire to see on the stage and work on in the classes.
Well, and you have that opportunity in your robust educational Give us a
Yes.
quick rundown of what you all offer besides the wonderful stuff on the stage, which in itself is educational.
Right, because we believe that every child deserves an opportunity to experience the arts, whether that is to see a show on our stage, but also to have the shows either brought to them or in school programming that is based on curriculum that is up to standards for the different school districts. So when we're bringing the standards into their classroom, we're doing it in a creative way, but they're writing and they're using their voices, their words to create new stories,
Right.
which is wonderful. We also have other programs that exist, not just ones that where you can come and take acting classes. We are very proud of our curriculum around acting and working on building those skills. But also, we have a program called Project Daylight, which is a free program to middle schoolers because we discovered that historically and unfortunately, there is such a huge number of young people who are struggling with mental health and mental illness
Uh-huh.
and anxiety and stress, and it's only gotten worse. And so, what we want to do is bring in this creative outlet that allows those young people to participate in building their own tools that they can use to calm themselves down, to check in with themselves, and also to know who to go to if they are struggling. Because sometimes kids don't realize that there are adults in their life that can help them.
Yeah.
So we use the power of the arts to highlight a lot of that stuff. And it is free to any school or any program that wants it for sixth and seventh graders. We also have still our long running Project Pride, where we have kids from the LGBTQ plus community and their allies come together to create their own show, which I got to experience
Oh,
here, and
cool.
it was so moving. These are their words and their stories, and they tell it through heart and humor and joy, but also truth. And I think that it is important for us as adults to hear their words and their truth. And of course, we have just a slew of creative, dramatic classes from preschool all the way up to high school. So we have a lot of opportunity for anybody who would like to take a class at the Coterie.
Where's the best place for people to check out everything that you have to offer?
Go online, thecoterietheater.org/education/schools. You'll be able to find in the drop-down menu everything that you need. If you're an educator, how do you get to our theater, but how do we get to you? You'll also have an
Mhm.
opportunity to see all the different locations that we're at in our classes. We're not just at the Coterie at Crown Center, but we also do go out to different areas as well because we want to make sure that we are bringing the work to the people. And hopefully we're going to be building that up even more. So yes, if you just go onto our website, you'll be able to get all of that information, as well as we send out brochures and flyers to anybody who would like to join our mailing list, and e-blasts, of course. So we make sure that everybody gets all that information.
Is there a place for volunteers?
Yes. So as you know, we have all of these shows. And as you know, we need help to do it because, like you heard, our team is small. And so we definitely love the idea of having as many volunteers who want to sign up to usher or house manage our shows so they can come and you can see the show for free. We have a new family ushering program starting up
Oh,
actually,
cool.
Finding Nemo, where you will be able to work with your kiddo and you get to see the show for free by helping us out. And then also we have opportunities when it comes to the final sharings and showcases of our different classes. If people want to sign up to help us with setup and takedown, we also could use some help and some hands when it comes to building our sets. So if you're creative in any way, if you have a construction background, a painting background, a carpentry background, we could really use the help as we build all of the sets that we see on the show. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of places where they can sign up to volunteer.
Well, I'm glad I said it in the intro. Exciting times. Oh my goodness. You've got so much rocking and rolling. And we're so excited that you're in Kansas City's theater community. And I'm sure you're finding out you are now adopted. You are Kansas City owned and everything. We will, shout from the treetop. So Khalia, thank you for spending time with us and bringing us up to date, and go get them, Coterie.
Thank you so much for letting us shine a light on what the Coterie Theater is doing.
Thank you for joining us for KC Cares. We're Kansas City's nonprofit voice, and we're produced by Charitable Communications, which is also a nonprofit. This KC Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. And if you'd like to be a guest, you can go check out our website, which is KC Cares Online, and spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio and Instagram at KC Cares Online. And don't forget, you can catch us Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on KC Cares.